Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom and welcome back to today's Daf, which is Pesachim Daf Chaf. We are 2 lines from the top of the Amid and discussing a Mishnah where we found a needle which was tamei inside the basar of a korban. What is halacha? The basar is tamei. Says the Gemara 2 lines from the top, Va basar tamei. Really? How was that? We know that in order for something, food, for it to be makabel tumah, it needs to undergo a process called hechsher. It needs to get wet. Where did this basar get its hechsher from? Hai basar dis kasher b'mai. What liquid was used to effect hechsher on this basar to make it susceptible to tumah? In name of this kasher b'dam, shall we say that the basar became hechsher by coming into contact with the dam, the blood of the korban? That wouldn't work. How do we know that the dam of a korban cannot make hechsher? Because it's dissimilar to water. Shenamar lo yistechlenu ala oretz tishpechenu kamayim. The pasuk here describes the issur of eating dam. You meant to spill it out like water. We learn from here that only dam which is similar to water, in this respect, that it's just meant to be spilled out on the floor. It's not meant to be collected in a kli. Only that type of dam is truly classified like water, and it can be machshir lekabel tumah. Dam shenishbach kamayim machshir. Only blood which is meant to be spilled out like water, not meant to be contained in a kli, that has the ability to be machshir because it's similar to mayim. V'shein nishbach kamayim, but something which is not spilled like water, meaning it's not intended to be spilled out. It's intended halachically to be received in a kli, such as the blood of a korban, ein machshir. It's dissimilar to water and it cannot be machshir. So that's off the list. You can't use the dam of the korban to be machshir the basar. So how then did the basar become susceptible to tumah? Apparently it got its hechsher from the liquids in the Beis HaMitbachayim, in the area in Azori that would rinse the karbonis. So the water used to rinse this basar was mashar the basar. Says the Gemara, but that wouldn't either work. The liquids in the Beis HaMitbachayim and the Azor, not only are they tur, them themselves are tur, they cannot be machshir others. And therefore the water in the Beis HaMitbachayim cannot affect hechsher on the basar. Tez explains that he holds only water which is mechubar lekarka can be machshir, but not if it's detached from the ground. Says to him, okay, that's off the list. Okay, so let's assume that we're going to employ the concept of chibas hakodesh, the dearness, the high esteem in which the items intended for the mizbeach are held. That enables them to be makabel tumah, even if, number one, they're not even food. You have firewood intended for the mizbeach. And number two, there was no hechsher. Hechsher is meant to complete the food process, to create a complete food, to enable it for tumah. But if chibas hakodesh allows even wood or other things intended for mizbeach, keteris, non-food items, to become tumah, then apparently you don't need to have hechsher. You don't need to make it susceptible through liquid touching this item. And therefore this basar is hukshel kabel tumah because of chibas hakodesh. It's a korban. So you don't even need the actual hechsher. Says them, okay, that would explain why the basar itself becomes puzzle. It's disqualified for achila. But the Mishnah says that the basar is not just puzzle. It's actually tummy. What does tummy mean? It can take the psul and pass it on. That's a chiddush. Can chibas hakodesh enable something for such a high degree, high level, powerful tumah, not only to become possible, but also to transmit it to others? That's already a chiddush. And actually, we had a shaila. Rish Lakish asked this question, whether or not it can do that, and he left the question unresolved. Now, if you propose that the basar here is becoming tummy due to chibas hakodesh factor, so not only is it in itself tummy, but it can be tummy. So you've clarified Rish Lakish's question, and this seems to be problematic because why didn't he bring a right from this Mishnah? Right? So this option seems to be problematic. Says the Gemara again, ve'ila dis kasha b'chibas hakodesh. So what are you going to propose? That the basar became hushel kabel tumah, susceptible to tumah, because of the dearness of a korban, the high esteem in which it's being held, and it doesn't have to actually get wet. It can become tamei due to its high level of kedusha. Says the Gemara, "Eimor de mahani lechibas hakodesh livsuli gufe." When do we say that chibas hakodesh can affect tuma? That's only with regards to itself, livsuli gufe. But for it to become tummy to the extent that if it touches something else, it becomes a rishon to a sheni. Do we do that? Lemimna bei rishon v'sheni nami? To go pass on the tumah to others, a rishon l'sheni, sheni l'tumah, etc. Are you going to say that as well? And if you do, it's a problem because tifshoy de bei Rish Lakish. Let's conclude from here. Let's have clarity from here on Rish Lakish's shaila, who asked this very question. Tzrit shel manachos. It is a dry part. It's not dry flour. Tzrit is a dryness within the mincha, meaning that flour hadn't yet touched any liquid, wasn't really huksha. It has chibas hakodesh, so it's going to become puzzle. The question is, mainim by rishon v'sheni eloi. Should we go ahead and count a rishon, a sheni here? Meaning, do we say that the dryness becomes puzzle, or does it also become tamei to pass on, to make rishon, to make sheni? And Rish Lakish didn't have a clarity. He couldn't really resolve this question. And apparently, if that's the case, you can't say that the basar in our Mishnah is tamei because of chibas hakodesh, because the Mishnah says it's tamei, it could pass on tuma, and this will be a clarity on Rish Lakish's question. He didn't make a right from this Mishnah. Apparently, that's not the correct approach to our Mishnah. The reason why the basar is tamei is not based on chibas hakodesh. So what then is it based on? Amar Avida Mar Shmuel Kigon Shahisa Para Shal Zivchei Shlamim. We're speaking about a cow, a shlamim, which they would actually says in order to make the flaying process easier. Rashi says the hefshet, the oyer, the hide would go to the bailam, to the owner. So he would want to enable it for easy flaying. So he would run it through a river. He would take the live animal and walk it through a river. Walked it through a river, so got it wet, and that enables for easy flaying. Rashi says it would actually also give it to drink, give it some water. So he got it wet, and then he shechted the carbon, and there's still some mashke, some liquid tefech, which is actually wet and moist, on the carbon. As Tosfos explains, the fact that the water of the nar was sitting on the hide and the basar is connected to the oyer, right? The flesh and the hide are one and the same, that connected to each other. So the hechsher, the liquid sitting on the hide, on the skin, is going to be machsher, is going to affect hechsher on the basar within as well. And that's a pshat in our Mishnah. You find the needle in the basar is tamei. Where's the hechsher? Because of the water which it came into contact with prior to shechita. Continues the Gemara. Okay, the Mishnah told us if you find the needle in the basar, it's tamei, but if you find it in the perish, the waste of the animal, then everything is tar. Nimta perish hakol tar. That's more why. So Rashi says, well, assuming that he just gave his animal to drink in order to allow for easy flaying, so assuming that the perish, the waste, is liquidy, and if that's the case, it's kabel tuma, and it can pass on tuma to the basar, etc. The perish should turn around because the perish has a din of a mashkin, and a mashkin is tummy because there's a needle within it. Amar Vada Barava, the perish Ava, we're speaking about thick waste, which doesn't have a din of mashka, is not tummy and is not metame. Even if you propose to speaking about liquidy waste, why doesn't it pose a concern of tumah? It's spoiled liquid. It doesn't have a din of edible or drinkable liquid, and therefore it doesn't have the concept of tumah. Okay, so the Mishnah told us that he found a needle in the basar is tumah. What happened to hechsher? The animal got wet because he ran it through the river prior to shechita. What about if you find a needle in the perish? Everything is tar. Why is that? Either thick waste, which is not liquid, or even if it's liquidy, but it's spoiled, in which case it's no longer classified as a proper liquid. Continues the Gemara. Tani Tana Kameder of Sheshes. The Samira presented this halacha For Rav Sheshes is as follows. What is the sequence of Tumah? You have a sheretz, a kli, oichel, a mashke. How far down the road can the sheretz affect Tumah? To what extent does this Tumah extend? Sheretz metames hamashken. You have a sheretz, which is an av, and it touched liquids, it makes the mashken tummy, makes it a rishon. Mashken metames hakli. And if the mashken turns around and touches the kli, so the mashken, which was a rishon, is now metame the kli, makes it a sheni. A chiddush, that mashken, which is a rishon, can be metame kli. The Gemara soon will revert from this. Okay, at this point we have the sheretz to the mashke to the kli, which is now a sheni. Ukli metames oichlan, the kli can turn around and be metame food, make them a shlishi. And finally, va'oichlan metames hamashken, the food can turn around and metame mashken and make it a revi. We learned this earlier that you can only metame something which is dissimilar to yourself. So the oichel can metame mashke metame oichel. So we have how many? We seem to have 4 steps. Sheretz to the kli, to the oichel, to the mashke. V'lumadnu sholosh tumas b'sheretz. If that's the case, we have 3 levels of tumah as a result of a tumah sheretz. It says in Hani Abohin, we just had 4 levels. What do you mean 3? Goy's mashkin the resha. Remove, cut off the first step in the sequence. You initiated by saying that the sheretz is metame the mashkin, and the mashkin the kli, which indicates that a rishon l'tumah, a mashkin, which is merely a rishon, can be metame a kli. That's a chiddush. Remove that. That's incorrect. So now all we have is the sheretz directly to the kli. That it can do, because the sheretz is an av, it can be metame a kli. The kli to the oichel, making that a sheni, and the oichel to the mashke, ending at the end of the road shlishi l'tumah. Says the Gemara, Adrab goyz mashken the sefer. Why don't you snip off the last stage on that sequence, the last mashken? Yeah, keep the first one in there. The sheretz metame the mashken the kli the oichel. Just remove the last leg of that journey. Says the Gemara, no, you can't say that, because to indicate that a mashke can metame kli, that's something of a chiddush which we don't find anywhere. We don't even find a Tana Damar mashkin metame kli, that a mashkin can metame kli. El Rabbi Yehuda, it was only Rabbi Yehuda back a few blot ago. But he was really chayzer, he reverted. He never held on to that opinion. So apparently that's incorrect. And the way the sequence works is that the sheretz, which is an av, is metame kli, making that a rishon. The kli is metame the oichel, making the oichel a sheni, and the oichel metame a mashke, making a shlishi. V'simonech nezayis. If you want to recall the sequence to avoid confusion, just keep in mind the nezayisa, the sequence in which the beer makers approach their profession. They take a kli, and then they set up the food, the solid ingredients, which is like the oichel, and then they put the liquid, the mashke. So we have the kli, then the oichel, then the mashke. So here as well, we have the sheretz, which initiates the tumah, it's a source tumah, of course, and transfers to the kli, over to the oichel, over to the mashke. Tanan Hasam, we went to the Mishnah in Kalim. Sheretz shnimtze b'taner. You have a sheretz, a dead lizard, loaded into the airspace of a taner. We know that a taner, or here we're speaking about a kli cheres, an earthenware kli, which is very unique in the sense that you don't even have to come into direct contact with the kli to be matame the kli or to receive tumah from the kli. Even the aver, the airspace, serves as a conduit for tumah here. So if the sheretz is loaded into the airspace of the tanner, the aver conducts tumah, takes tumah from the sheretz and brings it over to the kli cheres, to the oven, and the oven is now a rishon l'tumah because it got tumah from the sheretz, which is an av. So sheretz shenimtze b'taner. What happens now? And you took a loaf of bread and you lowered it into the airspace of this tanner. Hapas shebesoicha shniya. So the pas is a sheni l'tumah. The sheretz was an av. It transfers to the tanner, which makes it a rishon. The tanner now transfers back to the content of the tanner, the food that's present within the airspace of the tanner, making the pas a sheni l'tumah. Because the tanner is a rishon l'tumah. And therefore, the pas becomes a sheni. I have a question here. He says to Rav, why don't we view the oven keman de malitumah, although it's completely filled with tumah? Meaning, how did the sheretz transfer tumah to the tanner? because by being in its airspace, it's as though it touched the actual tanner. Now, there are two ways of looking at it. One way to look at it is by saying, well, the airspace is a conduit. It's a conductor of tumah. It's as though the sheretz actually touched the cheres, because the airspace is part and parcel of the kli. It's as though the sheretz touched the kli. By touching its airspace, its interior airspace, it is tantamount to touching the kli itself. That's one way to look at it. Now, if that's true, then, yeah, the sheretz touched the tanner, and now when the tanner, which is a rishon l'tumah, contains some food within the airspace, the pas, which is lowered into the arv of the tanner, so the pas is also considered as though he touched the tanner, because he's in the airspace of the tanner, and he receives tumah from the tanner. Tanner was a rishon, the pas is a shem. That's one way to look at it. But Rav Ada bar Ava had another approach. He says, why don't we speculate as follows? Why don't we say like this? That perhaps the sheretz, when he's in the airspace of a tanner, it's as though the entire airspace is filled with sheretz. The sheretz spreads throughout the airspace of the tanner. Perhaps that's the correct perspective here. And if that's the case, the dynamics will change. Because if the entire airspace of the tanner is filled with sheretz is an av, now you lowered a pas, loaf of bread, into the same airspace. He didn't get a tumah from the tanner. He didn't need a tanner as a means of receiving the tumah of the sheretz. He can get directly from the sheretz because the sheretz is all over the place. The entire airspace is sheretz, is deemed to be sheretz. So the bread within this airspace is coming into direct contact with that sheretz, and the kikar should become a rishon l'tumah. Why is this bread only a sheni? But next to Tana, why don't we view the entire oven command mali tumah dam as though it's completely filled with these sheretz? But the avi pas rishayna, resulting in the pas, this bread within this airspace, becoming a rishon l'tumah because of the tumah coming directly from the sheretz. He doesn't need the intermediary. He doesn't need the tanner to transfer tumah to himself. He can receive directly from the sheretz, which is all over him. Amalei Sarava responded, that doesn't appear to be the correct approach. The correct way of understanding the tumas aver is not that the sheretz is all over the place. And I'll prove it to you. You can't approach it in that manner. The sanya yochol yukal akela mitamen me'aver kli cheres. Perhaps a kli can become tamei through the aver of a kli cheres. So in our case, we have a sheretz within the airspace of a kli cheres, and you lowered another pot, another kli, a metal pot, inside the airspace of this tanner. Should we say that the kli becomes tamei? Should we say that the sheretz is coming into contact with that kli because, according to your approach, the sheretz is spreading itself throughout the entire airspace? It's touching the metal pot within this airspace as well. Can we say that? Talmud Laima, no. We have a pasuk which says that if we have the tanner, which experienced tumah through the sheretz, kol asher b'soicha yitma, anything within the oven becomes tamei v'samachle, and the pasuk nearby says, mikol ha'ochel asher ya'achel, only food can become tamei from this arrangement. Oichel mitamei ma'aver kli cheres, only food can become tamei, can receive its tumah from the airspace of a kli cheres. Vein kol ha'kelim mitamen ma'aver kli cheres, but a kli cannot receive tumah from the airspace of a kli cheres. Now, if the correct approach here is that the sheretz within the airspace of the kli cheres is spreading its wings and extending itself throughout the entire airspace of the kli cheres, then, if that's the case, a pot loaded into that same airspace should receive its tumah directly from the sheretz, which is an av. A kli can kabel tumah from an av. What's wrong with that? The fact that the pasuk precludes that and says no. A kli cannot be makabel tumah from the airspace of this kli cheres. What does that indicate to us? That the sheretz is not present throughout the entire airspace of the kli cheres. Rather, when the sheretz is lowered into the airspace of a kli, we consider the interior space as part and parcel of the kli, and it's as though the sheretz touched the kli cheres. That was the first stage of the process. The sheretz, which is an av, touched the kli cheres, using its airspace as a conductor, making the kli cheres a rishon, and now the kli cheres, which is a rishon, can only mimatame a limited form of tumah, only can be matame food which can receive tumah from a rishon tumah. But as the pasuk says, we're limited to food, but it can't be matame kli, which can only be makabel tumah from an ava tumah, which in this case doesn't exist because the kli cheres is merely a rishon. That explains the halach. That explains the pasuk and the brayso. The sheretz in the airspace of the tanner is considered as though it's coming into contact with the tanner because its airspace is equated with the body of the kli. Now the tanner, the kli cheres, is a rishon, which in turn could turn around and be matame anything else within its airspace, provided it's food or drink, which can be makabel tumah from the cheretz, which is a rishon, but it cannot be matame kli within its airspace, because a kli can only be makabel tumah from amatumah. And apparently, says Rabbi, we see from here that the sheretz is not throughout the tanner, it's not found throughout the airspace, because in that case, it would have been able to be matame, even a kli found in that airspace, because a sheretz, which is a av, can be matame a kli. Okay, let's make a quick summary of the amud we just learned. It's the needles found in the flesh of the animal. The basa becomes tummy. What happens to the hechsher? It's because he took the parah through a river, and it's all wet. If the needle's found in the waste, everything is tar. We're speaking about non-liquid waste or even liquid waste, but it's saruach, it's spoiled, and it's not susceptible to tumah. We discussed a sequence, the various stages of tumah. The sheretz, which is an av, can be matame kli, which in turn can be matame the oichel, which in turn can be matame mashke, making a shlishi. However, the kli is really only a rishon, and therefore it can only be matame the food within it, which is a sheni. But we don't say that the sheretz is present throughout the airspace, in which case anything that enters that airspace is coming into contact with the sheretz, which would allow even a kli to become a tameh. We don't say that. And that explains the pasuk and the brayso that the kli cheres can only be matame food or drink, and not a kli. Continues the Gemara, 3 lines from the top. Rav Chizda Rame Pischa Mishani. Gemara will take us back to the Mishnah of Yudalad, where Reb Chanina's Kana Gehana told us that although there's a mitzvah to safeguard, to secure the tahara of truma, of kachim, but that only applies when it is tar. But if it's already tummy, even if it's just a light form of tumah that it has, but there's no longer concern of being metamet. So Reb Chanina's Kana Gehana presented one example. We have basar, which was a shlishi, and we could burn it together with a rishon. Now, although the basar which touches the rishon gets upgraded to a shein of the tumah, it's okay. You can add a layer of tumah to a pre-existing tumah. Or Kiva presented another case, a similar case of shemen shel truma, which can be upgraded. Rameh says, on Erev Pesach, based on this concept, you can take truma tahira and burn it with truma tmeya, because at any rate it's slated for burning. It's a seifel ibud. It's not going to be eaten. And Rabbi Yossi disagreed. He said, well, you can't compare the things, and I want to tell you something. Even Rabbi Yeshua, who's lenient when it comes to these things, he holds that something which is not going to be eaten in any case, you don't have to be so concerned about. But it's only when you have something which is a suffix tumah. It's called tluya. You don't know whether it's tameh tar. Yeah, in that case, you could burn it together with the tameh because it's already a suffix. It doesn't have a proper din of truma tahira. But in your case, Rav Meir, in your case, you're taking truma tahira with tmei. You can't do that. All agree. Even Rabbi Yeshua would agree that's not allowed. So I'm going to present 3 apparent contradictions within the shita of Rabbi Yeshua and resolve those theories. Number 1, Rav Chizda Rami Pischa. Rav Chizda presented a contradiction within the shitas Rabbi Yeshua, a contradiction between 2 references to shitas of Yeshua concerning burning truma on Erev Pesach. We have one presentation of Rabbi Yeshua's din, we have another, and they seem to contradict each other. Rame Pischa, Mishani, and he resolved this theory. What was the kash? Mi am Rabbi Yeshua shtein ka'achas. Is that the case? We just learned, Rabbi Yossi says, well, when it comes to truma tahira, you can't burn it with truma tmeya, but I'll allow you this much. Rabbi Yeshua would allow truma tluya with tmeya. So if it's already a suffix, tamei tari, okay, that you can burn with truma tmeya, according to Shidduch Rabbi Yeshua. Is that so? that you can do that. Now, just one small introduction to the entire Gemara here. Min Torah, you have to be careful with something which is edible, something which is tar. Shmishmeres Trumoisai teaches us that you're meant to ensure the consumption of the Trum and the Kachim, make sure it doesn't get tummy. But when it is at any rate not slated for eating, it's totally, we don't know whether it's tummy tar or on Erev Pesach when it's going to be burnt in any case, then even the shitas, and there are some shitas that hold that you may not be metamet. You have to be careful. You have to treat it like Truma Torah, but it's only a D'Rabbanan. At the end of the day, it's only a Din D'Rabbanan, and that's why it allows for some exceptions, as we're going to see in the coming Gemara. So the context here is a Din D'Rabbanan. Okay, so getting back to Rabbi Yehoshua, how can our Mishnah present Rabbi Yeshua's Shita in such a light that you can take Truma Teluya means a suffix Tamei Tar, and burn it with the Truma Tmeya. V'Raminu, we have a brayso which indicates that according to Rabbi Yehoshua, you can't even do that. Not only can't you take Truma Tahira and burn it with Tmeya, because you're outright being Matame something which is Tar, you cannot even take Truma which is a suffix and burn it with the Tamei. Rabbi Yossi is responding to Rabbi Meir, who concluded that you can go ahead on Erev Pesach and take your Truma Tahira and burn it with a Truma Tmeya. And it seems that Rabbi Meir was coming from Rabbi Akiva, who said that something which at any rate is not slated for consumption, you can't eat because it's already tummy. So although it's a light form of tumah that it has, but it's going li'ibud, it's not going to be eaten, and therefore you could add an even more severe, powerful form of tumah to it. And likewise, when it comes to Erev Pesach, you'd like to make one fire for your Bir Chametz, you can't take the Truma Torah, burn it with the Tmei, because it's not going to be eaten at any rate. And Rabbi Yossi responded to that correlation. You can't compare the thing that you're trying to learn, the halacha that you're trying to derive, that on Erev Pesach you take the Truma Torah, burn it with the Tmei. This derivative is not doima. It's not similar to the source. Where are you coming from? You're coming from Chaninas Kan Kahana? From Rabbi Akiva? There's a big difference. When our rabbis testified, Rabbi Chanina, Rabbi Akiva, Almai Idu, what were they speaking about? Let's start with Rabbi Chanina's Kan Kahana. He discussed the basar of kacham which became tamei through a vlada tuma. And he says, well, we could take that basar which has a lighter form of tumah and burn it together with basar that carries a more serious form of tumah, because since the basar is already tumah, you can add tumah to it. Says Rabbi Yossi, how could you compare zeh tumah, this piece of meat is already tumah, v'zeh tumah, and you're putting it together with a more severe tumah? Fine, but it was already tumah, it had a pre-existing tumah condition to it. You're really upgrading. So how could you compare it to Truma Tahira on Erev Pesach? You can't be Matame something which is Tar. So that's off. Where you're coming from, Rabbi Akiva, who discussed being Matame the Shemen of Truma, it's not really either much of a comparison. Imal Shemen Nifsa B'Tful Yom. Where you're coming from, the halach of Rabbi Akiva, who says that you can take the Shemen which became puzzle through a Tful Yom, and he says Shemadlikin Oisai Ben Ner Shnitma B'Tmei Meis. We can take that and light it in a lamp, which became tamei through a tmei meis. So by putting the oil in there, the oil will be upgraded from its former light tumah and given a more heavy, more powerful tumah. Is that possible? The oil was possible to begin with. But is that tamei now going to connect it to a ner which is tamei? Fine. You're upgrading, you're adding a layer of tumah. But at the end of the day, this thing was tamei. Even we would agree, but truma shenitmas vlada tumah. If you have truma which became tumah through a vlada tumah, so although it has a lean form of tumah, but it's tumah nevertheless, and therefore shesoif and oisa imat truma shenitmas vlada tumah. Of course, we can burn it together with truma, which has a more severe form of tumah, receives its tumah from an avatum. I would agree to that. But in your case, but how can you suggest that we can burn together truma which is tar with something which is tummy, make it tummy. I feel it tluya matmei, even if it would be tali. Needless to say, if the truma is tar, you can't do that. But even if it's already suffix, even that cannot be burnt together with something which is tummy. Shema yavai el yovi tarim. Perhaps El Navi will arrive and say that the truma is actually tar. Second, you take a chance and go be metame, that truma be a daim. And I was assuming that Rabbi Yossi here is referring to Shitas Rabbi Shua, who's found to be lenient when it comes to these things. And Rabbi Yossi is presenting Rabbi with a challenge. Even Rabbi Shua wouldn't agree, wouldn't allow you to go take teluya and burn it with tmeya. So this is the brisa, and in contrast to our Mishnah, which seems to say that according to Rabbi Shua, you can take teluya and burn it with tummy. So which way is it? Umeshani and Rav Chizda, who posed this question, he answered as follows. The Mishnah, the brisa, reflect two different approaches in Rabbi Yeshua's shita. Rab Shimon, Rabbi Yeshua. Our Mishnah is Rab Shimon's perspective of Rabbi Yeshua's shita, that says that toli and tomei can be burnt together, because something which is toli, at any rate, it's not going to be eaten. Halachically, it's not really tar, it is savik. So we can take that and burn it with the tummy. In contrast with the brisa that we just mentioned, is a different sheet. It's Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Yehuda. So Rabbi Yossi's opinion of Rabbi Yeshua, who says that you can't take toloi and be matamid. Where do we find these two shitas? In Rabbi Yeshua, the Sanya Yedalid Shechaliyas b'Shabbos. If you have the Erev Pesach, which falls out on Shabbos, Mevarenes HaKoil Mifnei HaShabbos. We're meant to be mevar everything before Shabbos. All your chametz, all your truma. Burn it before Shabbos, because at any rate, it's not going to be eaten. So burn it all before Shabbos. V'soifen trumos, all different types of trumos, tmeyos, teluyos, tahiros, everything together. Divrei Meir. So it remains consistent with his view in our Mishnah, and if you dialed over here, that you can take the Torah with the Tmeya, no concerns, everything all on one fire, because it's not slated for Achila, and there's no mitzvah to protect it from Tumah. So Rabbi Meir is on one side perspective of the spectrum. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Rabbi Yossi, who's very machmir. Rabbi Yossi, Torah b'fnei atzma, utli b'fnei atzma, utri b'fnei atzma, everything is separate. You can't mix and match. So Torah by itself, Toli by itself, and Tomei by itself. That's his own personal opinion. Now let's discuss Rab Lezer and Rabbi Shua. Rab Shimon. Lo nechelku Rab Lezer and Rabbi Shua. There's no machlokes between Rab Lezer and Rabbi Shua. Ala Torah v'ala Tmeya. She'ein surfing. Of course, you can't take Torah and burn it with Tomei. That you can't do. All agree. Even Rabbi Shua would agree that you cannot be Matamei the Torah outright. That's on one side. On the other hand, Ala Tluya v'ala Torah she'surfing. Let's say you have truma which is tali. You can burn it together with truma tahira. There's no concern about that. Now, although the teluya might actually be tummy, but it doesn't appear like he's being matami the truma tahira with it, because it's only tali, it's a suffix, so it doesn't give that appearance like he's being matami the truma tahira. Therefore, you can burn the teluya with the tahira together. Again, we're dealing with. Then the Rabbana, as long as it doesn't give the appearance like he's being matami something outright, that's okay. So that's agreed upon by all. So again, Torah and Tamei, all agree you can't combine. Toli and Torah, that's okay. When then is there machlokes in Rab Lezer and Rabbi Shua? Amar nechelku. Ala tluya v'ala tmeya. If you have Tamei, and you want to put it together with Toli, here we have a machlokes. Because here, you're taking something which is Tamei, outright tummy, and be matame the truma teluya, which is not really yet tummy, it's only a suffix. But on the other hand, it's not going to be eaten. So we have a machlokes. Does he have to safeguard that suffix, that teluya, or not? Shableza Omer, Tisaref Zuba Atzma, each one separately. You have to keep the teluya away from the tummy. Tisaref Zuba Atzma, each one is burned separately. Rabbi Shua Omer, Shtein Ka'achas, you can burn them together as one. Because according to Rabbi Lezer, even truma which is tzoloi needs to be safeguarded and secured. Whereas according to Rabbi Shua, tzoloi, that no longer has to be kept secure. So this was the sheet of Rabbi Shua, presented by who? Rabbi Shimon. Right? It was Rabbi Shimon who discussed this last clause of the Brisa. And he presents Rabbi Yeshua, as saying that Toloi and Tamei is okay. So although Tar and Tamei you can't combine, because you cannot be Metame Truma Tahira, but Toloi and Tamei you can. So here we found the Shita of Rabbi Shimon, the way he presents Rabbi Yeshua, that Toloi and Tamei is okay. And we have Rabbi Yossi in the earlier Brisa who presents the other Shita of Rabbi Yeshua, that even Toloi and Tamei you cannot join and combine together. So that explains the discrepancy between our Mishnah of Yudalid, that according to Rabbi Yeshua you can take Truma Teluya and burn it with Truma Tameya. That's Shita's Rabbi Shimon in Rabbi Yeshua, right? Rabbi Shimon's perspective of Rabbi Yeshua's opinion, who says that Taloy, you don't have to safeguard it any longer, you can burn it together with its Tameya. Whereas the Brisa is Rabbi Yossi's opinion of Rabbi Shimon, of Rabbi Yeshua, that even Taloy must be kept secure, must be safeguarded from Tumah. Says, how could you say that our Mishnah of Yudalid, which allows burning the Truma Teluya with the Tmeya, in accordance with Shitz Rabbi Yeshua, is presented by Rabbi Shimon? Right? It's his perspective of Rabbi Yeshua. Is that so? Take a look back at the Mishnah of Yudalid. Who's the one presenting that sheet? Who's the one saying that you could take Truma Teluya and burn it with Tmeya? It's not Rabbi Shimon, it's Rabbi Yossi. You just finished telling me that according to Rabbi Yossi, even Rabbi Yeshua would agree that Toli and Tamei cannot be combined. Hachika Amar Rabbi Yossi Rav Meir says in what you're right. Rabbi Yossi's own personal perspective of Rabbi Yeshua's Shita is that you cannot combine Toli and Tamei. But he was merely responding to Rabbi Meir. He said, look, Afilu Rabbi Shimon, Valid Rabbi Yeshua the Mekel. Even Rabbi Shimon's perspective of Rabbi Yeshua was lenient. It's a lenient approach. Even according to him, Ki Mekel. When is he Mekel? Betluyo Tameya. Yeah, if you have something which is totally okay, you can put it together with the Tamei because there's no mitzvah to safeguard the Truma Teluya. Fine. But in your case, Rameir, when you're taking Truma Teluya and putting it with Tamei, you cannot do that. All agree it's awesome. So, in summary, whatever Meir says, yeah, you can take Truma Teluya with Tamei, with Teluya, and put it all together. Rabbi Yossi himself holds that each one has to have its own fire. You can't burn it together. It can't be matame the Truma Teluya, or even the Truma Teluya. Now we have a middle ground shita, which is Rabbi Yeshua, and in Rabbi Yeshua itself we have two perspectives. Rabbi Yossi says that even Rabbi Yeshua would not allow you to be matame Truma Teluya. Rabbi Shimon's perspective of Rabbi Yeshua is you can take the Teluya and burn it with the Tmeya. So our Mishnah of Yudalid, which seems to allow according to Rabbi Yeshua, is Rabbi Shimon's perspective. Whereas the Brisa was presented to Rabbi Yossi that even according to Rabbi Shimon, you cannot be matame Truma Teluya. Continues the Gemara with stira number 2 in Shita's Rabbi Yeshua. Rabbi Yossi Bar Chanina, Rami Truma Apischa. He asked a contradiction from one reference of Rabbi Yeshua's Shita with regards to Truma to another reference in Shita's Rabbi Yeshua with regards to Pesach. We seem to have a discrepancy between the two references, Umishani, and he provided a solution. So the kasha is like this. Is that so? That according to Rabbi Yeshua you can take Truma Teluya and burn it together with the Truma Tameya, as presented in our Mishnah of Yudalid? Is that the case? That you can take Truma Teluya and be matamed biyodayim, outright, direct Truma? We seem to have another source where Rabbi Yeshua allows only through causation, through groma, not biyodayim. V'raminu chaveshal truma shenol b'safek tuma. If a suffix occurred to a chavis of truma, a barrel full of wine, so you don't know whether it's tam or tar, Reb Lezer Omer, you have to still watch over it, prevent it from becoming tamei. If we're sitting out in the open, exposed to the creatures and the elements, you should place it in a safe and secure area. If it was exposed, you must cover it to protect it from tumah. Now, Once it's at this point that it's suffix, you no longer have to safeguard it. Even if it was sitting in a hidden, secure area, there's a lot of place out, expose it to the elements to enable it for tumah. There's no need to actually watch over it. If it was covered, you can uncover it. Why? Because it's tumah tluya. There's no need to be shamed in the tumah. Says the Gemara, but even Rabbi Yehoda only allows causation. Gurama in. He can cause it to become tummy. He can place it in a location which would allow it to be susceptible to tumah, but you can't actually outright be matame it. Whereas in our Mishnah, we seem to say that according to Rabbi Yehoda, you can take this truma tluya and be matame b'yadayim, burn it together with the truma tmeya. So which one is it? A Mishani and Rabbi Yosef Bechanina, who presented this theory, answered like this. There are two perspectives in Rabbi Yehoda being represented here. Just as the Gemara said a minute ago, Harab Shimon, I'll leave it Rabbi Yehoda. The Mishnah by us, Naf Yadalat, that according to Rabbi Yehoda you can take the Truma Tluya and be Matamid, that's Rabbi Shimon's perspective of Rabbi Yehoda who allows that. Harab Yosi, I'll leave it Rabbi Yehoda. Whereas the other Mishnah with the Chavis, which seems only to allow Groma, is Rabbi Yosi's perspective of Rabbi Yehoda, who doesn't allow outright to be Matami, be Yodayim, that Truma Tluya, but Groma is allowed. Again, we're speaking about it in the Rabbanan, because at any rate it's not going to be eaten. So as long as he doesn't do it outright, that's okay. Finally says the Gemara, another stira in Shittas Rabbi Yehoda. Rabbi Lezer Rami, Truma. He had a contradiction from one reference in Rabbi Yehoda's Shita with respect to Truma, on another reference of Shittas Rabbi Yehoda with respect to Truma. We seem to have a discrepancy between the two, Umeshani, and he answered. So what was the kasha? Me, Rabbi Yehoda Groma in. Is that the case? According to Rabbi Yehoda, you can take this Truma Tluya and only cause Tumah, but you can't do it b'yodayim, even though it's not going to be eaten at any rate, but only Groma is allowed and not outright Tumah. V'raminu, we have a kasha, a stira from the following halacha. We find that according to Rabbi Yehoda, something which is slated for loss, this Truma which at any rate won't be eaten, you can actually go b'metami b'yodayim, chavish al Truma shenishbra b'gasol yoina. You have this wine press and a barrel filled with Truma wine broke apart in the upper compartment of the wine press. And below, in the bird below, you have full of wine of chulin, which is tummy. Now, that wine at this point is still okay because a non-kohen can consume it. The Truma up above is still okay because it's Truma Torah. Problem is when they're going to meet each other, when the Truma is going to trickle down to the boir of the chulin tmein, the Truma falling in there will become tummy, and Truma tmeya is unsuitable for consumption. He's going to experience a major loss. So what is he meant to do? Now, this fellow has some kalim nearby which are tummy. Should he quickly collect the Truma in those tummy kalim, be metame the Truma to avoid loss, prevent the wine from trickling down to the boir and be metame the chulin and creating a major loss? He's allowed to do that? Because at any rate, that Truma is slated for loss. It's about to trickle down to the chulin tmei and become aser. Can he go and be metame that Truma outright to salvage his property? Says the halacha moeder Rabbi Lezer, Rabbi Yehoda. Now they both agree that if he has access to a kli which is tar, to run home and grab a cup and come back in time to salvage some of the Truma in a tar cup, he has to do that. He's obligated to do that, and he can't opt for the other option of grabbing the kelim tmeim and collect the Truma within it to protect his chulin. He can't do that because if he can go ahead and salvage at least some of the Truma bit tahara with that kli which is tar, he's meant to do that, even at the expense of the rest of the wine. So all agree shem yochel lahatzal mimeno revius b'tahara. If he has the ability to salvage one revius, a shear of shtia, of that Truma b'tahara, yasel, he's meant to do that. He has to do that. But let's say he doesn't have that option. By the time he comes back with the klitar, everything's going to be in the bar. So at any rate, the Truma will be lost. So now he has two options. Should he allow the Truma to trickle down and mix with the chulin and create a major loss? Or should he take the kelim tmeim and collect the truma within them, be metame the truma, which at any rate is going to be lost, in order to save his chulin in the bar below. We have machlokes. He should allow the truma to trickle down, become tamei. Va'al yitamena biyad. Don't be metamet by hand. As long as he doesn't directly be metamet, that's preferred. You cannot be metamet even this type of truma, which is hoylech liibud. It's going to get lost at any rate. That's Shitz Rabbi Lezer. Rishoy tamena biyad. He can be metamet directly with his hands. There's no concern because, in any case, this truma is about to get lost. So according to Rabbi Shua, even direct truma is allowed. In contrast with the earlier halacha with the chavis, where he seems only to allow causation, grama, not direct truma. So this was the kasha presented by Rabbi Elazar, and he responded. He provided a solution like this. Umeshani, he answered, Shani hasam dikehevzet chula. The case of the wine press is different because he's about to experience a major loss there. So since this whole concept of being metame, this type of truma, which is in any case is not going to be consumed, is only drabanan. So in the context of a hefset, of this loss, we allow him to metame the truma, as opposed to the case of the chavis, where Rabbi Shua only allows him to put it out in the open because there's no hefset there. There's no reason for us to allow him to be metame the truma biyadayim. Maskefel Rabbi asked, okay, you're telling me that hefset is a factor to reckon with? In that case, you can take the truma be metamet biyadayim. Masisa nam, you can have sedaitzim. And now Mishnah as well. On Erev Pesach, he'd like to make one bonfire for both trumas, for the truma toira and the tmeya. So why should Yossi say, well, according to Rabbi Shua, you can't even do that. You can't take truma toira with tmeya. Why not? We have a halacha we just learned that according to Rabbi Shua, you can even directly be matame something which is slated for loss. The truma which is hoylech liibud, it's not going to be eaten in any case. You can actually be matamet biyadayim because he's trying to avoid loss, avoid the truma from trickling into the chulin and experiencing major loss there. So in our case on Erev Pesach, why does Rabbi Yossi tell us? Rabbi Yossi's perspective of Rabbi Shua's shita is that you cannot burn the truma toira with the truma tmeya. He's trying to save a few pennies, save firewood here. It's a hefset there. So why can't he be metame the truma toira biyadayim? The truma toira, which at any case won't be eaten, it's only drabanan. And since he's trying to save his money, hefset, why can't we do that? When we're dealing with a major loss, like in the case of the wine and the wine press, Chacham were concerned and allowed you to be metame the truma to prevent that loss. Hefset more than chashashu. But now Mishnah, where it only involves a minor loss, some firewood involved, in that case, the Chacham were not too concerned, and that doesn't justify be metame the truma. Says the Gemara, Umra Taimra, to the Hefset Meruba Chashashu. How do you know to differentiate and say, well, when it comes to Hefset Meruba, the Chacham are concerned, or the Hefset More to Loi Chashashu, when it comes to only minor loss, the Chacham were not concerned? How do you know that? The Sanya, Chaviz Shel Shemen Truma. In contrast with the earlier case where we had the chavis of wine, which broke apart, here we have a chavis filled with oil of truma. Shenishbra begas al yonah, that broke apart in the upper level of the wine press. Perhaps it was being used as an oil press. Ubetachtoin chulin tmein, and down in the pit below we have chulin which are tamei. Now the truma is about to trickle down there, and everything is going to become truma tmeya. What do? Moida Rabbi Lezer Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Lezer agrees to Rabbi Shua. Shem yochal lahatzal imeno revius betahara. He has the ability to salvage at least a revius of that oil using a kli which is tar. He's meant to do that. Vim lav. But if he doesn't have the ability to do that, what do? Should I take the kli tamei and collect the oil to prevent it from trickling down to the pit below, making everything tamei, truma tmeya? Or do I let it trickle down? Vim lav. Terid v'tetamei. Allow it to trickle down and become tamei. V'al yitamena b'yad. As long as he doesn't do it himself. Even Rabbi Shua agrees in this case, you cannot salvage your oil by being metame the truma. Why? Why is this different than the wine? Apparently because in the case of wine, he's going to experience a major loss when the wine becomes truma tmeya. But when it comes to the shemen, he can't eat it, but he can use it for lighting purposes. You can burn truma tmeya. So there's only a minor loss involved. he can no longer eat it, but he can still use it. And therefore, even according to Yeshua, it would not justify b'mitzrayim the truma. Says him, but still we don't understand. Why is shemen different because you couldn't light it? Yain nami roy leziluf. Wine which is tamei is still suitable for ziluf. You can sprinkle it throughout your home to exude a pleasant scent. So when it comes to the wine, why are we saying there's major loss? You can still use it. It's still fit for ziluf. V'chitema ziluf lav milsi. Perhaps this type of use, the ziluf, is not significant, not reckoned with, and it's not considered it doesn't really have much out of it. It's not something of significance. V'amar Shmuel, Mishur B'chia, he told us that actually ziluf is very, very, very important. Shoisin milug b'sela. Person has a small amount of money, so when it comes to buying wine for drinking purposes, you should buy wine which is not too expensive. Well, lug goes for a sela, you should go ahead and purchase that type of wine. Umezalfen, however, when you're buying wine for the sake of a ziluf, go higher. Milug b'shtayim, pay even 2 sela for a lug. So ziluf is something very important and very significant. Says the Rabbi Chadash, apparently we're speaking about new wine which doesn't really exude that scent and therefore it's unsuitable. But he can just keep it around and age the wine. We can't allow him to do that because it can come to a pitfall. He can inadvertently drink the wine. Oil as well can lead to pitfall. When he's holding on to it for the purpose of lighting, he might actually consume it, which is also, you can't eat trumat meya. The Rama lebi kli mois. He puts it into a repulsive kli, which discourages its use. Yayinami Rama lebi kli mois. Wine as well. Why can't he place it into a repulsive kli to discourage its use? Says the Gemara, leziluf kaboyle. This fellow is holding on to the wine to use it for the sake of ziluf, to exude this aroma. Bikli mois Ramale. Is he going to place it in a kli mois, which will dampen and ruin its scent and aroma? Of course he wouldn't do that. So if he's going to put it in an ordinary kli, perhaps he'll consume it inadvertently. Therefore he's not allowed to hold on to this yain. And the bottom line is that when this yain becomes tamei, since he can't hold on to it, he has to get rid of it, there's hefsed meruba involved. And hefsed meruba justifies b'mitamei that truma. So that pertains to the wine, as opposed to the oil which he can still use. And therefore there's no hefsed meruba. And likewise, when it comes to the eitzim in our Mishnah, just to save some firewood, that's not enough justification to mitamei the truma toher. Okay, time for a brief chazara of today's daf. We learned about a needle that was found in the basar of the kodesh. The flesh becomes tamei. How was it hukshar? Because he ran the animal through the water prior to shechita. If he finds a needle in the waste, there's no tumah because it's either solid waste or liquid but spoiled, in which case it's not makabel tumah. We learned that a sheret, which is an av, hatumah can be tamei kli, which can be tamei oichel, and then mashka, making that a shlishi. We learned that the sheret, which is in the kli, is not viewed as though it's extending throughout the entire airspace. And if you have a kli in there as well, the sheretz will transfer directly to the kli. No. It's going to transfer to the klicheres through its airspace. And then the klicheres in turn has to be metame, its content. And the klicheres, which is a rishon, can only be metame content, which is food or drink. What about burning truma tahira, truma tmeya, truma tluya on Erev Pesach? Rabbi Shita is, since it's slated for loss in any case, you can burn it all together, tahira, tmeya, and tluya. Because Rabbi Yossi, even in this case, is an isad rabban avim metame, the tahira, and even the tluya. Therefore, each one is separately burnt. In Shitas Rabbi Shua, we have 3 perspectives. Rabbi says, he holds everything can be burnt together. Biyodayim. Rabbi Yossi says, something which is tar, even if it's tali, it still entails Issa de Rabbanan to be matamet, but there are some allowances. For instance, in a case where he's just being goyrim, in a case where there's a hefsed meruba. Rabbi Shimon says that although tar can be burnt together with the tummy, but tali, which is already a suffix, can be burnt directly together with the tummy. And we concluded that according to Rabbi Shua, hefsed meruba means really major loss, but not like just the fire we discussed in our Mishnah. That's called hefsed mu'at, and that we're not really concerned about.